Hey everyone, so once again I'm going to be doing another rifle review. As you know from the title of this video, this is a Midwest Industries rifle. I've been testing out Midwest Industries products for a really long time. I've reviewed a lot of their products and I've spoken very highly of their products in the past because in my opinion they deserve it. However, I have had some people ask, what about their complete rifles, and I've wondered that myself. And I decided I wanted to try one out. So I reached out to Midwest Industries. I did pay for a portion of this rifle, but it was heavily discounted for interest of full disclosure there, in case you were wondering. So I was partially paid for, but a lot of it was provided at no cost. Now, this is kind of the configuration it's in currently. I'm going to be running this through at least one class here in October in this configuration right here. And I wanted to do that before I go too in-depth in how I have this set up, or at least what I think of these accessories. So just as far as a quick overview, I'm going to put a lot of details on the side of the screen in case you wanted to know a little bit more about it. But this is one of their 16-inch 223 Wild rifles. It has their 14-inch combat handguard, and then everything else is going to be pretty standard. They did throw in some of the Midwest Industries combat iron sights, which I'm a really big fan of. I actually have a set of these on my SBR. I plan on doing a video dedicated for those here in the very near future. And then it also has the optional upgrade of the Midwest Industries branded Radian charging handle. So it's made by Radian, but it has the Midwest Industries logo on it. Other than that, it's a pretty standard AR-15. Just an exceptionally well put together one using really good quality parts. So for example, the barrel here is a Criterion barrel. Specifically, this model has one of the hybrid profile barrels. So it's not a heavy profile, it's kind of more of a taper profile out towards the end, so it gets lighter towards the end. And as you'll see later, it's one that I'm very happy with. It's giving me very, very good performance. It shoots well hot, shoots well cold. Again, all stuff I'm going to be covering more later. The handguards, I'm a big fan of all the Midwest Industries handguards I've used, and these newer combat rails are kind of another win for me. There's some slight modifications compared to some of their previous models like the Gen 3s. And again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the handguard in this video. Just suffice to say, I'm a really big fan. It's very slim, very low profile, and gives you built-in QD mounts. I have my Faro Concepts Slingster tied in back here in the rear with a built-in QD mount, and I'm just a really big fan of it. Has 8 rows of M-LOK mounting options on there, and just very lightweight, very low profile, really gives you good control over it while still giving you very good mounting options. I do have an Arisaka 1600 series light mounted up here. This is the actual Arisaka body and head and momentary tail cap, and it's mounted on one of their inline M-LOK mounts. Been a really big fan of the Arisaka mounts, so I wanted to try that with their actual lights this time around. Again, more coming in the future on that. The bolt carrier group is just a standard phosphate Midwest Industries bolt carrier group. I've done reviews on that in the past. If you want to know my thoughts on the bolt carrier group, suffice to say, really nothing to be concerned about. Everything is done correctly, good staking on the gas key. Again, everything is good to go there. And then this one specifically also has Magpul Furniture. So it's got the CTR stock, Magpul MOE grip, and the MOE trigger guard, just to have it be a little bit more enlarged. And then this one does also have a QD end plate, which I'm pretty sure is standard with all the Midwest Industries rifles, at least all the ones that I looked at on their website. So first, I want to go ahead and dive into the accuracy of this rifle. So I'm going to go ahead, grab some paper targets, and start rolling in some footage from when I was shooting this thing for groups. I should have mentioned already, but here on top is a primary arms 1:6 ACSS Raptor. So this is the first focal plane scope, and this is what I was using for the accuracy testing. It's an obviously Midwest Industries QD mount. So this is what I was using for the accuracy testing at 100 yards. So the groups I'm going to show you are all going to be 5-round groups, all of them shot at 100 yards using that reticle. I guess we'll just go ahead and dive in here. Each group pretty much has at least, well, most of them have one flyer. So I'm going to give you the size of the nice cluster plus the size of the overall group. So first up here, we have some 62 grain Fiocchi ammo. This nice tight cluster here of 4 is 0.847 inches, so under 1 MOA with including that first round flyer. We're looking at a total 2-inch group, 2 MOA for the total. However, just me, it's hard for me to call that a 2 MOA group just because I know that one flyer is my fault. Over here we have some 55 grain Frontier ammo. This is using the Hornady projectiles. Again, if we're looking at the nice closest 4 here, we're looking at right at exactly 1 inch. The whole group opens up to about 1.772 inches, so 1.7-ish MOA. Down here we have the 62 grain boat tail hollow points from Frontier Ammo. We're looking at a total group of about 1.46 inches, so just under 1.5 MOA. Over here we're looking at the 68 grain boat tail hollow points from Frontier Ammo. Nice tight cluster here of 0.888 inches, so again under 1 MOA. With my obvious flyer here off to the side, we are looking at 3.1 inches. So I feel comfortable in saying if you have a decent optic, a decent rest, it's definitely a 1.5-ish MOA gun or better. Oh, I totally forgot to mention the center group here. This is 77 grain Fiocchi. This is the, I believe, Sierra Match King bullet, basically their Mark 262. I shot a 6-round group because I felt one that felt a little wonky for me and I had some extra ammo. So I went ahead and did a 6-round group with a full 6 shots. It's 1.4 inches. With the tightest 5, it's right at 1 inch again. So looking between 1 and 1.5 MOA. So as I was about to say, I feel comfortable in saying that this is about a 1.5 inch gun, if not a little bit better had I had a nicer rest, a little bit more magnification to get a more precise point of aim each time. I might have been able to do a little bit better. But considering the type of ammo I was shooting and my whole setup, I'm very, very happy with 1.5 MOA out of a rifle like this one. At this point, I'd like to cover the reliability that I've experienced with this rifle. This thing is just over 1,000 rounds now, and 1,000 of which was my own personal hand loads, ones that I loaded up myself using pulled 55 grain cheap bullets and my own hand loading process. And it ran all of that just fine. All the factory loaded ammo I've shot for groups has also shot just fine. I even ran 100 rounds of Tula steel cased ammo through 3 mags. I had 2 30s and a 40, and I ran through those, no issues feeding steel whatsoever. And I'm gonna go ahead and mention really quick with the steel cased ammo, Midwest Industries does not recommend that you use remanufactured ammo or steel cased ammo. Obviously, for being able to affordably put 1,000 rounds through this, I had to violate the remanufactured ammo. And then as far as the steel cased ammo, my reasoning for wanting to do that, they don't recommend using that, and they say if you run into any catastrophic failures using steel cased ammo, they will not cover basically cover the repairs. They'll repair it for you, but it will cost you because they don't recommend using steel cased ammo. And to a point, I don't blame them for saying that. But my logic is, if it's a rifle that I'm going to trust my life to, if it's an end of the world type gun for me, I want to make sure it's going to feed whatever I can possibly get my hands on. So that's why I decided to do 100 rounds of steel case Tula ammo, which is about the worst possible ammo you can get, just to see how it would run, and it ran it 100%. I have had one issue, and that was actually with the trigger. Now, the issue I had, I guess let me describe it first and preface by saying, it's not a fault that I would necessarily expect them to find under a normal function check at the factory. So even though this happened, to me, it's kind of an understandable thing to slip past quality control. So what would happen with the factory trigger was, if you were shooting for groups, i.e. really consciously doing a slow reset on that trigger, it would obviously fire when you pulled the trigger, and then as you would release, if you were releasing it very, very slowly and gradually, there was a specific spot where there was enough of a gap between the sear and the disconnector for the gun to fire on release. Now I'd fired hundreds of rounds through this rifle before I came across that. Under normal firing conditions, it never once happened. It wasn't until I was shooting for group sizes the first time, where I'm really focusing on a nice, slow, gradual reset, that it appeared. And even when I tried to isolate it and figure out what was going on, and I took the upper and lower apart and I'm testing the lower, I couldn't repeat it. And basically, those of you who've done a function check before on just the lower, you know you don't want that hammer to come up and hit the receiver. It's not good for either part for that to happen. So I would use my thumb to buffer the hammer and test out the trigger. But if you were retarding the motion of the hammer at all, i.e. having gentle pressure on it, it wouldn't allow it to be released at that sweet spot. So I couldn't replicate it, couldn't figure out what was going on. It wasn't working. So I put it back in, and yet when I'd shoot for groups again, it would do the binary firing action on me. And it wasn't until I took it to work and one of my coworkers put some stuffing basically in front of where the hammer was so that the hammer could move freely, that we could actually figure out exactly what was happening. So I let Midwest Industries know about this. They were extremely receptive, obviously, and immediately sent me out a replacement trigger and asked that I send in that trigger so that they could take a look at it, figure out exactly what was going on with it. Again, I don't think that that's necessarily a big deal, because I think that's kind of a fluke situation to happen. And in my opinion, that sort of malfunction is not one that's going to be easily found at the factory unless you're doing exactly the right procedures to make that happen. That being said, it's still something that happened, and something I feel I should relay to you guys, just in for sake of honesty and open conversation here. So they did send me out a replacement Milspec trigger, just like the one that was in there before. I fired it a couple times, did group sizes for it just to make sure I'm doing the exact same thing with the trigger before, and it was not an issue whatsoever. Now, you'll probably, if you were astute, probably notice that this is not a Milspec trigger in here right now. This is actually the Rise Armament RA535. Basically, I have it in for testing, and I needed to get it in a couple different guns just to see how it performed in a couple different guns, and I figured if I'm swapping out the trigger anyway, I might as well put it in this one and see how it runs. So I have been running the RA535 for about half of the 1,000 rounds so far through this rifle. But again, at least as far as the actual reliable functioning of the rifle, it's been 100%. And I also have not cleaned it at all in that 1,000 rounds. It did come covered in some CLP, some G96 CLP, which I'd never heard of before, but I will tell you, after smelling it, I went ahead and ordered some online. It smells really, really good. And I actually contacted the guy who builds the rifles at Midwest Industries to ask him what he's using, because I enjoyed it so much, and I've been using it to clean all my guns ever since. Anyway, and I'm going to be using it to clean this thing after I film this video, but just to throw that out there. So it did come with a factory lubricant, and I ran it just with the factory lubricant. I haven't re-lubricated it. I haven't done anything for 1,000 rounds, and we're doing just fine. That shouldn't surprise you if you've been following Tim over at Military Arms Channel. He's got a BCM rifle up to, I think, 5,000 rounds without any cleaning or re-lubricating in DI, and no issue. So it shouldn't be a surprise, but just throwing that out there. So now that we've covered the reliability, I want to just talk to you about my overall experience with this rifle. I have been really happy with the performance of this rifle. I've gone through the investment to have this thing totally kitted out. I have a Faro Concepts slingster on here. I have a 1:6 optic up here. I have BCM vertical grip, and I have Aerosoc light on there. And pretty much this is how I plan on keeping it. Again, I'm going to be taking, it's a intermediate range precision rifle class essentially here in Oregon in October, and I'm gonna, like I said, run it just like this, and I want to see how it performs in that context just before I go too in depth in the separate videos I'm going to do on this. But again, I am very happy with how this thing is set up. It's more accurate than I am, I think it's safe to say, from those group sizes. Again, not using any actual match ammo, just shooting reasonably good quality factory ammo, and it's just been totally reliable. Also, I can say it's very well put together. There are things that I would not have been able to recognize had I not taken an armorer's course and had a more acute eye for knowing how to put a rifle together. But having done that, there's attention to detail things in here that I'm a very big fan of, and to me help justify the cost, because I'm gonna just be totally honest with you, these rifles are not cheap. Configured like this one, you're looking at about $1,200-$1,300 before optics and all the other accessories I have on here. But you are actually getting something for that investment, and in addition to the really good quality stuff like a Criterion barrel, there's little things of attention to detail that a lot of companies miss. So first and foremost, the castle nut back here is not only staked, it's actually staked on here twice. So if you don't know what staking is, first of all, I hope you've never built an AR, but basically it's where they push material from the end plate into the castle nut to prevent it. It's basically mechanically locking it in place so that it can't come loose on you. A lot of people don't think that's a big deal. Honestly, if you want to make sure your gun doesn't fall apart on you, that's a really important thing to do. Hence why all my rifles that I trust my life to have a staked castle nut. There are workarounds, like the PWS end plate is ratcheting, so you don't have to worry about it. But generally speaking, please stake your end plates. The barrel is actually dimpled for the gas block. It's a low profile gas block, and it's dimpled on the fastener immediately opposite the gas port. Again, some people may not understand why you might do that. Again, it's a extra safety mechanism to make sure as your gun gets hot and your gas block expands, it prevents it from being able to walk, because now you have a fastener not only friction tightening it to the barrel, but it's actually mechanically inserted partially into the barrel so that it can't walk forward or backward. Not only that, but they actually staked that recessed fastener as well. Now, I did talk to Andy, the guy who builds these rifles over at Midwest Industries, and I asked him about that because I've literally never seen that done before, never even heard of that done before. But I really like that idea on a rifle that you don't plan on ever taking apart, and one that you just want to be able to trust your life to and never have to worry about that. And he said it's not necessarily something he always does, but he knows on a gun that he knows is going to be run hard, he'll do that little added extra step. So what I'm going to say is, if you want to buy one of these rifles, I would throw in the comment or notes or whatever, ask for them to stake that gas block, because I think that's a really awesome idea. And again, just that added extra insurance. Now, a lot of you are going to say that's completely pointless. I've put rifles together. I've never staked anything. I've never dimpled a barrel. I've never done any of this, and my rifles run just fine. And I will say maybe that may indeed be the case. First of all, I think you may be fooling yourself. You might be blocking out some of the bad things that happened along the way. But I'm betting you've probably never actually gotten your rifle really hot and continued to shoot it sustained at that hot state. And having taken a lot of training classes, I can say that there are people who say their rifle was great until they took a class, and then things started rattling loose on them. And what's happening there is, as the components heat up, they expand, and if there's not Loctite or some sort of mechanical locking mechanism preventing things from walking loose, they're gonna walk loose. Again, please, if you've never taken your homebrew AR-15 through a class, I think you owe it to yourself to do that. You're gonna find the failure point on your rifle if it's a good class, I should say. And again, the attention to detail and the things that Midwest Industries has done to this rifle show me that they intend for this to be a rifle that gets not only shot, but shot a lot and shot aggressively. And it's really made me a big fan of the Midwest Industries practices of putting together a rifle. So again, I know that these things are not cheap, but I do genuinely think that you're getting something for the money. Again, not just with good looking, good functional components, but in the good attention to detail that goes into the actual assembly of those components to make sure that you're going to have a rifle that will withstand the test of time and be able to handle whatever you can possibly throw at it. And that is something that I am absolutely looking for if I'm going to trust my life to something. Now, I will say, to hopefully alleviate that cost concern to a lot of you, if this is the first video of mine you've seen regarding a Midwest Industries product, I do have a discount code for anyone to be able to use. It's the coupon code, I'll put it down here at the bottom of the screen, but Oregon Trail gets you 10% off any Midwest Industries item on their website, including complete rifles. So you can actually discount these rifles, usually over $100, depending on how much the rifle costs, by using that discount code. I don't necessarily get any kickbacks from that. I don't benefit monetarily from that. However, they do continue to send me products to review. So again, just full disclosure there so you understand my relationship with Midwest Industries and how that coupon code, works into that. So if you're looking for a really well put together rifle that you don't have to worry about checking out of the box, I would highly recommend looking into Midwest Industries. They have a lot of different options. They have pistol configurations as well in 223 Wild. They also do 300 Blackout. They have all the different calibers that you could want. So definitely check out their website and check out what firearms they have to offer. They even have some non-Midwest Industries rifles on their website if you wanted to take a look at those as well. But again, this is just something that I am very, very happy with, and something I can see being worked into my rotation as far as giving my BCM complete rifle a run for its money. Like I said, I'm going to be taking a precision rifle class up here in Oregon in October. It's going to be taught by a former Marine Scout sniper instructor, and it's not necessarily going to be like a geared towards like bolt action style precision rifle shooting. It's going to be really geared towards low power variable optic or red dot with a magnifier style stuff between 0 and 250 yards, getting very small window of shots through unconventional shooting positions and understanding where that bullet's going to be in its trajectory at those different distances, so you understand all that. It's something I'm really looking forward to, and something that I think will be a nice, fun challenge with this Midwest Industries rifle. So definitely be on the lookout for videos regarding that. If you're interested, check out the Spartan Training Concepts website. I'll have that linked down below. Again, it's going to be in October of this year, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I want to say thanks to my patrons for making a video like this one possible. Without their contributions, I would not have been able to afford the components to be able to remanufacture ammo, to be able to run through this. Again, 1,000 rounds is not nothing, and even hand loading your own ammo, it's still not the cheapest thing in the world, and definitely not the least time-consuming thing in the world. So I really do appreciate the support I have over on Patreon. Because of that, I post all my content over there early. I also upload exclusive content. So for example, when I was going through the testing process with this rifle and other rifles, I will do range update videos every single time I'm out there to let them know what I did with it that day, how it handled it, reliability issues or anything else like that. They're the first to see it, and they're the ones that I keep up to date on it. We also have monthly live streams. We have a Discord server set up for more direct interaction. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, or if you just want to financially support the channel, I would highly recommend checking out my Patreon. Other than that, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and throw those in the comment section down below. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can. If this isn't the best place for you to reach out to me, definitely head over to my Facebook or even my Instagram, although Instagram's notification process is really funky if I don't already follow your page. So just be wary that it might take me a while to respond over there. But Facebook is a pretty good place, and especially Patreon is a very good place to contact me, or my Discord server for that matter. But anyway, with all that said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.